Folks, there's bad news and there's good news. The bad news is that Simon is crook again. Yes, that lurgy keeps recurring and he can't shake it, and he's got a raspy throat, and so he decided it was best to stay away tonight. But the good news is that in his place, oh gosh, what's the bloke's name? I know the face, but the name escapes me. Alan, is it?
Yeah, Alan will do. How are you, Phil?
Oh, it's Andrew McLaren. Once you spoke, it came back to me.
Thank you, Phil. Good to see you. And in slightly unhappy circumstances, yes. All the best to you, Simon, and hope you get better real soon.
Now, Lady Betty Sutton sent me this today. It applies to you and to Ken, and to all of you out there. It's only 4 lines. A ring is round, it has no end. That's how long you will be my friend.
Oh, that's sweet.
Isn't that nice? There you are. Take a bow, guys.
Yeah, that's nice. Thank you, Flip.
No bonuses, but my best wishes.
Well, that's very good. Thank you so much. Where did that come from and what did it mean, Phil?
It's too deep for me, Andrew.
Okay.
And now, a little topic for later. Patty will be here very shortly, but maybe after 11. Have you ever been in the workforce and never taken the sickie? In your whole life, have you never taken the sickie? There'd be people who'd put their hands up and say, that's me.
I would love to say I haven't, but I have. But I'm a genuine sickie. I don't think I've ever... Oh, I did once. I did once. I wanted to see a movie on TV many, many years ago.
You're kidding?
It was on during the day, and I made up all sorts of excuses. I lied like a swine.
Where were you working at the time?
I was working as a teacher.
Oh,
and I made up... Well, I think it was sports day for the school, so it was sort of okay.
Was it in the days before we had VCRs?
Yes, it was. Yes, this
And what was the movie?
I'm ashamed to say it was a B-grade special called The Big Beat.
And why did you want to watch it?
I'd never seen it, and it was starred Fats Domino and the Diamonds. I was young and impressionable.
Was it a black and white B movie?
Well, it was only black and white TV in those days anyway, so whether it was colour or not...
And what songs were in that movie?
Oh, you know, her little darling, boom, boom,
really?
and all that sort of stuff. And Fats Domino saying, I'm walking, yes, and I want to see it, and I'd never seen it, and someone told me it was great. It wasn't great, and I felt terribly guilty the next day when I was saying, oh, you're better now, Andrew. Yes, I've improved. One of those miracle things. I pray a lot.
So after 11, have you ever, in the workforce, never taken a sickie? Or have you never had a day in hospital, perhaps? But that will come a bit later. Did you want to raise something at this time?
No, I want, after 11 I'd like to, if you don't mind. Oh, no, there's just one thing I would like to raise. Because I've just seen you demolish, during the 10 o'clock news, a ham sandwich.
Yes, I did. Yes. It was very rare for me to eat in the studio before the show. Very rare.
But you were. You were eating a ham sandwich. I find no fault in it. I feel no shame about it, Phil.
Yeah.
Not like I do about the Big Beat and taking time off for it. But I'm just intrigued by you, as you know, Phil, about what your dietary intake is in the course of a normal day. This has been a normal day for Phil Brady, I'm right in saying, aren't I?
Okay, yes. Okay, well, I went out to lunch. Do you know John Fife, formerly a film librarian in the newsroom at Channel 10?
No, I don't.
He and his wife Leslie had me to lunch today, and it's very rare for me to have breakfast or lunch, but she turned on a delicious pumpkin soup.
Yes.
And they came with bread and butter rolls, and then afterwards we had a platter of cheese and greens and grapes, and she supplied little wafers to go with that. So I had quite a decent lunch, you'll agree.
Well, that's for you, sounds very nutritious.
And then I brought this in, but I haven't had time to eat it yet. What would you call that?
It's a croissant of some kind, is it?
Of some kind. I've got a...
What's on top of it? It seems to be white snow.
I think that's icing sugar and nuts and apple. Also, I have some fruit salad. But when I get home, I have some sausages and plum sauce in the fridge. A frozen meal which I will defrost and eat about 1:30 in the morning.
A day in the life of Phil Brady.
Well,
really, someone should film it. I would love you to be just you as a reality show. To hell with Bryn Edelstone. I want you to be featured day after day.
But it works for my metabolism. You'll have to agree. I never put on weight. Do I look healthy enough?
Are you losing a little weight, though, Phil? I'm just speaking confidentially here.
No, I stay steady about 78, 79.
You seem just a little scrawny to me, as you were leaning over before.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Maybe you should go to a gym, build up a little bit, do you think?
I don't have time. I'm too busy eating. Andrew, I love Monday nights because my dear friend Patti Newton is our special guest. In fact, you've been doing this more than 10 years now, maybe 15 years?
Even more than that, I think.
I think so.
But very nice to be here. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Patti. How nice to see you. It's been 6, 7 months since I last saw you.
Yes, very nice.
I'm the one who negotiated your salary for you all those years ago. I hope you're grateful to me.
Well, you know, $10 and I usually buy $15 worth of chocolate, so it's a really good deal, Phil.
I'm sorry there hasn't
Thank you for that.
any increase over the years, but we do appreciate you. We do love you.
Oh, look, that's all right. I don't do it for money, you know.
So when did you and Andrew last see each other?
Well, about 6, 7 months ago here. I don't see a Patti outside of that. We don't mention the same social circles.
Was Bruce here when you were here?
Yes, it was Bruce,
I think you
and I.
might have been away.
Yeah,
that was
no, I've hardly been anywhere in the last year, actually.
Well, maybe it was a year. I don't know.
Might have been a year ago.
Patti, what was your first regular job in show business? And how much did it pay?
Swallows Juniors.
Yes, and was there
a pound a week?
Pound? $2 a week.
A pound a week.
And did you have to give that to Mum and Dad?
Well, I think dancing tuition and because you had to provide your own clothes. It was on Saturday afternoon.
That's right.
We did it. We'd rehearse at 3DB in the morning. Yeah. We'd learn what we were going to do. We'd do it live to air that night. And we'd provide our own costumes, our own tuition.
Your own transport there and all that?
Oh, absolutely. And even before there was a choreographer, I remember one day Mabel Nelson, who played the piano, said to my mum, "Oh, come on, Mrs. McGrath, you can come and just give him a doot-de-doo or something, you know, little sway here." And one day, we didn't have a telly, but Dad used to go down to the local milk bar, so because they had a television there and he'd watch it, and he almost fell over because what was that man that used to do the You Need a commercial?
And he got the honey in his moustache all the time?
Yes. What was his name with the big moustache?
Not John Royal, was it, from the ABC?
No. Lovely man. But they needed a lady, and Mum was probably, you know, the best of the bad mothers, I suppose. You know, no one was that fabulous, but she was there, and they asked her to get up and do the commercial, just eating the You Need a biscuit and smiling at the camera.
Really?
Well, Dad nearly fell over because he thought she'd got in the way of the camera, you know.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But it was so primitive in those days.
And I bet your Mum didn't drive and your Dad drove you everywhere.
He did. He'd drive us there, drop us in the morning, and then we'd do the show. But, you know, there were great people like Yvonne Barrett and Pat Carroll and, I can't even think of the names.
And there was some boy on Swallows Juniors around that era. You were on the show on early TV days. He always seemed to be wearing tails and singing Putting on the Ritz and songs like that. Can you think of what his name was?
Warren Gibb.
Oh, you got it.
I know.
That was it.
Well,
I'd
it's
never would have thought of his
funny
name.
because years and years later, Warren Gibb had a son, as I had a son with Matthew, and they went to the same school.
Oh, geez, it's a small world, isn't it?
It is a very small world, but they were wonderful days. But
a pound a week.
Well, I got 2 and 6 before that when it was just radio. When it went to television, it was £1. And when it was on radio, there was Ernie Sigley, Gaynor Bunning, Heather Horwood, a whole group of people. And it was sort of like... It was like the hit parade, and I remember I was only 6, and I don't think I could have been a very good reader because, you know, they'd say, here, this song's in the hit parade, you have to learn it. Well, you know, and a wonderful man called Elf Potter was in the control room, and he came and he taught it to me word for word before we went on air.
Because you really couldn't read properly.
Well, I don't think I could read very well.
No, and you were about 6 at this stage.
Yes, I was 6.
Wow. What was the song?
Oh, I did many of the hit parade numbers. They only lasted a couple of weeks.
Were you miming records?
No, we were singing live.
Yeah.
So this is pre-Swallows Juniors you're talking about?
This is Swallows Juniors.
Oh, the radio Swallows
Juniors. And this is Radio Swallows Juniors. And then it graduated to television, and they picked, I don't know, probably the youngest ones, and we stayed, and Ernie... Gaynor Bunning and Heather went into their own show. I think that was called
Teenage Mailbag?
Teenage Mailbag, yes, on Channel 7. But it was fabulous times.
So I don't want to give your age away, but you've really you've been in show business 65 years already.
Yeah.
That's a much longer than Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, true.
Longer than Andrew's been alive.
Yeah. Now, why did you choose to learn dancing from May Downs instead of Olive Wallace? Weren't they both competitive?
Well, it was funny because it was actually Gaynor Bunning. She was a Geelong girl.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember. I'm sure some of the listeners will remember Gaynor and Heather and all those girls.
Of course.
And she was a Geelong girl, and she came up and we were in Swallows Juniors, and my mum and her mum became good friends.
Yes.
And she said, Gaynor wants to learn dancing. And we'd been to a couple of schools. She's older than me. We'd been to a couple of dancing schools and we hadn't really liked them that much. And then we went to May Downs. We went to May, I think, because, I don't know, it appealed to my mum. And it was in a better position, you know, it was in Burke Street and was easier for Dad to drop me and all of that, all those easy things that happen. And I stayed and Gaynor didn't. And that's when I met Denise Drysdale. And I was only 6 and she was a bit younger than me.
You've
so
known each other that long?
That long. And do you know, on Thursday...
Actually, kindergarten level.
Andrew,
Yeah.
I know. Thursday, Denise Drysdale and I are going to be in that march. You know, I think I told you about it.
The Long Tan Battle 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's the Long Tan Battle anniversary, and all the veterans are going to be marching.
Yes.
And because Denise, a man called Doug Owen, and the Strangers, and I went to Vietnam to entertain, and we've been asked to march this year. So there we go.
What a great honour for you.
Yeah, it is. Do you know, at the time, Denise and I were both working at Channel 9, and at the time we thought, oh, it's a bit scary, you know, and I thought, oh, Mum and Dad will go berserk when I say I'm going to a war zone, Mum and Dad. But they didn't, which was very good of them, really, and the same with Denise's parents. And we went, and it was lovely, and we thought we were having such a great time. I think Denise fell in love about 4 times while we were over there. But we then realised one day, I'll tell you this story quickly. One day, we were at Nui Dat, and we did a show, and we'd always do a second show, and a lot of the boys would come and they'd do a little barbecue or something because they were very starved for female companionship and chatting and having photographs and all of that. And these 3 guys, very handsome young boys, very young, said, look, we're going on this mission, but we're coming back to see the second show. Do you think we can have a photograph when we come back? And we said, yeah, of course you can, you know. So we did the show. And when the show had finished, we got a message to say that these 3 boys had gone out on this mission and they'd hit a landmine and they were in hospital and they were asking for Denise and I. And would we go and visit them, which we did. And I remember holding their hand, and they were in a very bad way. And one of them thought that I was his mum, and he was just talking to me like his mum. I don't think they made it. But
it really brings it home to you, doesn't it?
It does. Denise and I realised very quickly that, yes, it was wonderful. The audience was wonderful. We were having a great time. But we were in a war zone, and this was a very dangerous, tragic situation.
As was Bob Hope during World War II and in Korea. And
you know, moving from A to B, we went with the army. A lot of people went independently, which was a different thing, but we went with the actual army, and we were looked after well. But we used to travel, and Denise and I'd get in the back because we were the only 2 girls, and the Strangers, do you remember the Strangers?
How many were there? 4?
1, 2, 3, 4,
John
yes.
Farrar, yeah.
John Farrar, Garth, Peter, and I forget.
Whoever.
They were
Yeah.
top band. They had hit records and
Oh,
all.
they were
Yes.
fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah, My Melanie Makes Me Smile.
And Doug Owen, and he was there, and he discovered he was ill over there. Doug has only just passed away, I think last year, wasn't it?
Within the last 6 months.
Yeah, and we used to travel on these helicopters with two gunners either side, very low, and as we would travel, they'd shoot into the bushes because that's where they used to wait for
the
us.
Viet Cong,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. So it was a great experience, but it was a very. That's why this is fabulous, because they're getting recognition. The guys
At
that
last,
were over there
yes.
doing all that hard stuff.
You
And-
went back a second time, didn't you?
no, I didn't. Denise did.
Oh.
Denise and I went back many years later, after the war, to revisit
Yes.
Saigon, which was, Ho Chi Minh City at that stage.
Yes.
And we saw the airport. I remember when we first arrived, I was so nervous. And we had to wear jungle greens, and we were issued army gear to wear. And we got off the plane, and I was so nervous that I'd left my pack with a couple of dresses in it in the plane. So as we were walking through, I went, "Oh, I've forgotten," and I ran, and I had gunners but shooting, looking at me, thinking I was going to, I don't know,
Escape.
blow up the plane or something.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, that was my first fright. But it was, we travelled, all around. We worked for the Americans as well. And I have to say, they were looked after much better than the Australians.
Oh, yes.
They were in tents we had orange dust in our skin for like 6 months after we came back. It was so,
Patti.
I know. But look, great experience.
And you'll be so proud to march on Thursday.
We will. And something...
Is that towards the shrine or away
Yes,
from
it
the
is.
shrine?
It's the same march as
Oh,
they do.
yes. At 9:30, I think.
Well, I think we've got to be there at 9:30. I
Okay.
think the march might start about 10.
All right.
But I think they're hoping lots of people will come and have a look.
Yeah.
But it's I'm sure there'll be lots of... I've heard Neil advertising it, actually. But yes, it'll be interesting. I think actually AW...
Neil might be there on the spot,
yeah,
perhaps.
I think you're
right.
broadcasting.
Oh, well, for you on Thursday, the wheel will turn full, sir. Patti Newton with us, Andrew, and I'll look forward to seeing you Saturday night. I will actually be at Ginny Pratt's production of Curtains, and I hope you'll be there too.
Yes. Well, do you know Simon Gleeson, isn't it? He's the
Yes.
star of it. He's just had
Was he at
success.
school with your Matthew?
Do you know, I think I've told you this before, but he was a boarder at Xavier. And I think his uncle was a priest there. And so he was a very nice boy.
Yeah, Father Philip Gleeson. I remember him well.
But he didn't like being a boarder. And I think it was much more interesting being at our place. So he used to spend a lot of time living at our place.
Really?
And they'd go out on a Saturday night and he'd say, "You know that yellow jacket that's in the wardrobe? It fits me perfectly, Mrs. Newton. Do you think I could
Was it Bert?
borrow it?"
Was it Bert? Bert's jacket.
No, Matthew had a couple of jackets because he used to do a few little gigs here and there, you know. But this wonderful man now is married with a couple of kids, and he was starring in Les Mis just recently and got absolute wonderful acclaims. He was fantastic in it. So and I saw him in
Eureka. Do you remember the Australian
I remember
production
that one.
Eureka and Her Majesties?
I think that was one of the earlier things that he did.
Isn't he good?
He's very good. But
Do you
what's
know him,
that
Andrew?
other
Simon Gleeson.
I know the face, but I've never seen him perform. But
beautiful voice he's got?
Yeah.
Beautiful voice. He and his sister both had fabulous voices, but really nice boy.
Oh, yeah, lovely.
Nice,
So
yeah.
I'll be looking out for you
Okay.
because it's very rare for me to go to opening night, but I'll be there.
Do you know anything about it? I mean, I've
Yes.
never heard anything about it.
The show's by Ken and Ebb, who wrote Cabaret, among other shows.
right.
So it's going to be a very tuneful score, and it is supposed to be hilarious. It's a comedy.
Well, I
It's
actually
about a
love
couple of crims.
Jeannie Pratt's productions
Yeah.
because, in a way, they're almost better than the big ones because in seeing them, you're getting the potted version, even though it's still a production, but you're getting the best of, really. So a lot of the bits that, you know, are a bit of fillers, they go.
Yeah.
So you only get the really good bits, don't
right.
you?
It's a bit like a Reader's Digest. It's
That's what, you both know where Jeannie lives at Raheen in Kew, of course.
Stuffy Park Road, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
formerly the residence of Archbishop Mannix. I mean, it really is a palace. It's a castle.
Have you ever been in there,
Yes,
Bill?
I have been there on occasions, and Jeannie and Richard put on a separate wing, which is very modern behind
Very
the old
modern
tower.
and absolutely to die for.
Overlooking the boulevard, the golf links and the Yarra. It's wonderful.
Someone told me, am I right, that they've actually left it to the people of Victoria. With the passing of Jeannie, it won't stay on in the Pratt family. And
I don't know.
It will be an art gallery for the people of Victoria.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's... She's one of my favourite people because she actually gives back what she's got, you know, and if she suggests something, it never just drifts away. It always comes to fruition.
Okay,
Yes.
well, I take her up on this. She's always saying to me, Philip, because she knows I'm a neighbour, she says, on your way home, why don't you drop in any time you like?
No, I think that might be stretching it,
Imagine arriving at Raheen at 1 in the morning with those big gates. You'd probably be Alsatians there in the garden to attack you, and probably the security guards would shoot you.
But if she knew you were coming...
Yeah, but she said, just if you're passing by, just drop in.
I wouldn't do that. She's just turned 80, and I think, yes, and I think she would probably be in bed by about 10:30.
But have you stopped to think maybe she's ready to go out with another bloke? Have you
No, I
stopped to
don't
think
think
about
so.
that?
Well, I have stopped to think of it, and I don't think you're in the running, Phil.
Well, you don't know, Patti. You
Yes,
don't
I
know.
do.
Hey, guys.
Could you imagine me living at Raheen?
Oh, what, you're going to be the next Mr. Pratt, eh? Oh, no.
No,
The thought of it's too
no,
horrible.
she would be the next Mrs. Brady.
Well, do you know, I think that's the reason why all these production companies shows are so fabulous.
Yeah.
Because both she and Richard loved show business when they were young, and I think they both dabbled in it quite heavily. One day, I went to a function at Crown, and it was a thank you from Jeannie and Richard and all the family to all their workers. I have never been to a show that was as good. It was unbelievable. Do you know they'd flown... What's his name?
Burt Bacharach, perhaps?
Burt Bacharach was on,
Yeah.
and he had his backing singers there, and that was fabulous. And I felt that Burt Bacharach sang every song to me because I was sitting in the front with Lauren. But no, in the audience, can't think of his name.
Clue? Give me a clue.
He's in the movie that Bert loves, where they become women and they're on the train.
Tony Curtis.
Tony Curtis.
Yeah.
Tony Curtis just sat in the audience, and his job, he'd be paid to do it, but his job was just to say hello to anyone that wanted to say hello to him, and have a photograph with him if they wanted. Then it got to I can't remember who else was on, but at the end they had people that had done famous people's work, and there was Todd McKinney who did When My Baby, and he did that. They had Wendy Stapleton doing Dusty. They had all these people doing fabulous shows.
What a show.
Oh, I know, it was just brilliant.
Do you know President Bill Clinton has stayed there at Raheen?
Really?
Undercover? Oh, yes, incognito.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Hey, after the show on Saturday night, could I ask Jeannie out for a date?
No, I don't think so.
What would she say?
At one stage, I think Tony Barber, because he worked a lot for
He was doing
Jeannie.
the emceeing for
He
her.
was. And I think when she stands at the top of the stairs... and you go down the escalator, she's always looking beautiful and says hello to anyone that arrives or wants to speak to her. And Tony used to stand there with her as her escort for the night.
Oh, that's nice. That's
Very nice.
Yeah.
But you want to take it a few further steps than that, don't you, Phil?
Yeah, I'm thinking about McDonald's or
Well, no,
Nando's.
she wouldn't like smoking for a start. She's got her own dog. She wouldn't want your dog.
Maybe 7-Eleven for coffee, something
No,
simple.
I don't think you've got enough suits to sort of cope with her social activities.
Hey, John of Mount Waverley wants to talk to you, Patti.
Hello, John of Mount Waverley.
Hi, Patti and Phil, and is it Alan?
Andrew.
It's Alan, yes,
Alan?
he's here tonight,
Yes.
Alan. Good old Al.
The old A.
Yeah, bit over a week ago, Patti, I saw singing live for the first time. I'm sure a friend of yours, Marcia Jones.
Ah, yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, it was at the Colin Cook charity thing down at Moorabbin, a small venue at Moorabbin.
Ah, well, she's a great girl. Marcy Jones and the Cookies.
Yeah, who were the original members there?
Oh, look, I can't remember their names,
There was
but...
one other girl that was also very well known at the time. Was it Pat Carroll, perhaps?
Oh, you mean, I thought you meant the Cookies. Yes, well, there was all those girls. There was Yvonne Barrett,
Oh, yeah.
Pat Carroll, who's now Pat Farah.
Right.
Married one of the strangers.
Blonde-headed girl, help me. Lynn Randell.
Lynn Randell, who is no
Wasn't
longer
she
with
wonderful?
us.
Ciao,
Yeah, she
baby,
was
let's
great.
call it a day.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
There was just a group of them. They were actually, most of them went on to the Go Show.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's a big show going on for Rusty Wiley.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he was there also singing.
yeah, well, they're all part of that same group.
Yeah.
Denise was she used to be a go-go dancer on
Oh, yes.
on that show, and then she became a singer, of course. But
She used to be a disco dancer at the Northland Drive-In
do you know?
years and years ago.
This is a very funny story.
Sure.
Because we were such good friends and we've been friends for many years, her dad used to have a chicken shop in Bridge Road, just around the corner from Channel 9. And I was going out with Bert, and he was working in the booth. So when he'd get a break, I think, I'll get out of here for a minute. I'll go round to Denise's, and I'd go round and I'd have a coffee with the mum and dad and all of that. And Denise was working, and often I would drive her to the Thumping Tum, and she'd go in there and do her go-go dancing, and then I'd wait for her, and then she'd get in the car, and then we'd drive to the next one, Treble Clef or whatever it was. She'd do her bit, and then we'd end up at Carousel to have a quick little meal.
Yeah, Rob's
after
Carousel at Albert
Yes.
Park.
And we'd go round, and we thought we were so fabulous.
Hey, talk about the swinging 60s, baby.
I tell you, we thought we were wonderful.
Yeah. Before we go back to Patti and Andy, good evening to Kate McMahon at the Herald Sun. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
Good. I suppose
Hi,
more
Kate.
more Olympics on page 1 tomorrow.
Yes. Well, we've just had a 52-year-old woman arrested following an assault on Jane Garrett, the former Emergency Services Minister, tonight. So it's believed she was known to Miss Garrett before the incident happened, but it's pretty shocking.
It is terrible.
Yeah, Miss Garrett was just walking in Carlton, and apparently a woman grabbed her from behind and tried to push her into a window and grabbed her by her hair.
So it was obviously somebody who recognised her, yes.
Yes, from what we understand, she was known to Miss Garrett before it all happened.
Oh, so scary stuff.
But it's not linked at all to the CSA wage dispute.
Okay.
Miss Garrett was very involved with that. But,
Yes.
yeah, it's got nothing to do
Just a
with that.
coincidence. What's inside tomorrow, please, Kate?
Well, there's a couple of very interesting stories, particularly about foreign investors and being made to sell some very swanky properties. But the story I thought I'd talk to you about is the words Ballarat and beach, which you probably wouldn't normally associate with each other, but apparently the council in Ballarat is considering building a beach at Lake Wendouree.
Oh.
Goodness.
I know. It's Ballarat's so cold.
It's hardly
Really
the, it's
don't
hardly
know.
the climate to go swimming up there. It's freezing,
I know.
isn't it?
But they're saying that it could rejuvenate the area, and they're looking to truck in about $120,000 worth of sand for the summer. And said apparently it used to happen there. They viewed photos of the lake in the early 20th century.
You know, next I'll put in a wave pool as well.
Yeah.
Surely there are better things to spend their money on in Ballarat.
The other thing is, too, swimming's not officially recommended for Lake Wendouree. So you kind of think that if you're going to have a beach, maybe you should have water that you can
Yeah. And one more headline, please.
Oh, sure. Well, we've got all the action from Rio.
Or what about Bolt today? Wasn't he sensational?
Amazing. You know, I saw Bolt run in 2010 at an athletics meet in London, and it was like, he just made it look so easy. And the fact that he's able to look around and
Smile.
You know, smile.
Hey, I've got a good headline for his story, or a caption under his photo. Could it be
go on.
lightning bolt?
Gee, no one would have ever thought of that, Phil.
Thanks, Andy. Oh, thanks.
We only said today, do you think Bolt would be his real name? I mean, it's like Matt Welsh being called Matt Fish,
Yeah.
or, you know, Matt Swim
Sure
or
enough.
something.
Hey, and your lift out tomorrow will be taste, I imagine, recipes and stuff.
Absolutely. We've got actually the best meals in Melbourne that cost less than $10.
Oh, God, that appeals to me. Thanks so much, Kate. Good reading in tomorrow's Herald Sun.
Bye, Kate.
And now here's Andrew McLaren to talk to Patti.
Yes, it is. 13 to 11. Andrew filling in for Simon. Get better, Simon.
Do you know, I love listening to you when you do your Dennis and Darren thing.
Oh, the
during
Friday.
I
Do you
love
listen
that
to-
Friday lunch.
You've got
And so does Bert. We're always
good.
we're always driving around at that time, but I do love it. It's so
They treat
friendly.
Me, but they treat me terribly.
They
those
do
two.
not.
They do, Patty, and you know it.
No, they don't.
I'm thinking of lodging a bullying complaint.
It's what
Workplace
I
bullying.
love about it, because you know, you're the one that they know they can get to every time.
They do.
They
Week after
do.
week.
I love it.
Yes.
It's very fun.
Now, you've got a whole lot of beautifully written out topics Patty came in with tonight, and we've only used about 2 of them.
Oh, that's
and they're
all right.
wonderful. Your take on the Olympics, please, apart from Hussein?
Oh no, well I love it because I love the gymnastics.
Yes.
And I love the swimming. But today I was watching the the athletics, or whatever you
Track
call
and
it,
field,
track and
perhaps.
field,
Yeah.
and the jumping and I don't know what they're called, but I love it all. I love it all.
jumping,
I know, yes, and I know nothing
What,
about
a
it.
long jump or high jump?
Oh, both.
As long as they
I was
jump, you're
watching the
there.
long jump,
Yeah.
and I was telling the kids, I used to do this at school. Now, I'm 5'2", with my little legs. Can you imagine how far I would have got? Not very far.
My adopted country is Colombia, South America, and I think they won a gold medal in the long jump.
But isn't it funny how in the athletics you get all the African countries and all of
Yes.
that, but you never get them in the swimming. It's either Asian or
No, it's because all these Ethiopians and Somalians, they always used to run 10 miles to school every day or something.
running to get away from everything.
But they had no public transport, so they
No.
would run to school and run home again.
But you know, in the commentary, they talk about so many wonderful things that have happened to these people in their lives, where you know they've had such hard beginnings, but the one thing that they were okay at was whatever their skill is,
Yes.
and they practiced, and that's probably why they're so good. They're so dedicated.
But they're not up to standard for swimming. Remember that bloke years and years ago who came last in the pool? He was from somewhere in
Oh,
Africa.
that's right, yes.
And didn't we love him? He was 10 minutes behind everybody else, but he still finished the race.
Yes,
he
isn't that
kept
great?
swimming till it was over.
In a sense, that's the true spirit of the Olympic Games, isn't it?
Isn't
It
it?
is.
It absolutely is.
The only thing I feel is I'm very grateful that Matt didn't go. I think I'm worried all the time when I see it. I'm worried about something happening in the audience, or, you know, and these young girls that are over there, if they have one of those mosquitoes bite them, you know, it's
You
a
wouldn't want to be pregnant,
real
would you?
tragedy. Well, you can't get pregnant for 3 years afterwards.
Yeah, that's it.
So you wouldn't want to be thinking about starting a family. So and little kids that are there, you know, I do worry about that.
Yes.
So but I'm glad it's not here either.
Yeah, by the way, Matt's doing a great job with Neil and the
Yes,
commentary on
he-
3AW.
he has been.
Well done, Matt. Are you going on Family Feud? Are you and Bert going on Family
No,
Feud?
we were asked to go on Family Feud, but you remember Family Feud was one of Bert's shows.
Which Pam Barnes produces
Yes, which
these
Pam
days.
Barnes she did for Bert as well.
I know.
And she did a great job. She's a lovely girl. But anyway, we were asked to do it, but Bert just felt that he'd been there and done that, and it wasn't the sort of thing that we needed to do. But I watched it on Sunday with Anthony Kalia and Tim, his husband, and their families, and it was absolutely hilarious. It was such a good show.
Was that the All-Star Family Feud?
They're doing All Stars at the moment.
Yeah.
Tonight, I think they had the Living Room Gang and what's that show that Tom Gleisner does?
Have you been paying attention?
Have you been paying attention? Obviously, I hadn't been.
Not enough.
That's a good show too.
But yes, so they did it.
Sam Pang's in there.
Yeah, but it was good. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
2 words here, Patti.
Yes.
Margot Robbie.
Oh, isn't she gorgeous?
One of the most glorious exports of Australia
Oh,
for Hollywood in years.
Before she went to America, Sean McAuliffe had a New Year's Eve show on the ABC, and they said, would you like to come in and just be in the audience, be in part of the party? You don't have to say anything, we'll just have a little chat with you. And I said, oh, yeah, it'd be good. So Matt and Lauren said, we'll come and sit in the audience and watch. So they did. And I was sitting with Margot, and I was so mesmerised by her because I've never seen a more beautiful girl.
Just as gorgeous close-up, obviously.
And do you know, the nicest person, she kept saying, I think she'd just left Neighbours, and she kept saying, oh, I'm so nervous, I don't know what to do, I'm hoping I'm doing the right thing, I had a career going, and now, I'm moving on, and I hope it's the right decision. And you think, little did you know that you were going to be a star.
Wow.
There's a big story on her today in one of the magazines, and it's funny because, it sort of sometimes bites you on the bottom, doesn't it? When her dad left at a very early age, there are 4 of them, 4 children, and left the mum, and they had to fend for themselves with their mum, and she was struggling a bit. And I think he did very well, business-wise, but he did educate them, he paid for their education, but that's about all. And because now she's a big star, I think Dad would quite happily come back into her life, but she's not having it. And for her mum's 60th birthday, which I think is lovely, and I'm hoping, that she stays like this, she went and paid off her mum's mortgage and filled her house up with beautiful new things. And you sort of think, no, that's what you love, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's
wonderful.
if success can bring you that, then you're doing pretty well.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, well, she's humble too, you see.
Very humble.
Yeah.
And lovely.
And very down to earth.
Yeah, and gorgeous to
And
boot.
drop dead gorgeous. Simon off crook tonight. Happy to have
that's
Andrew
sorry.
McLaren along.
Oh, give him my love,
He's
won't
been
you?
on and off the last few nights. He comes in, struggles through, and then takes the next day off.
I hope he hasn't got man flu, because Bert's got man flu at
It's
the moment.
going around.
Well, women's flu, it doesn't sort of last as long as man flu. We can get over it much easier.
Yeah.
But when you get man flu,
Take care,
it's a
champ.
tragedy, yes.
And now what about Delta? Have you caught up with Delta Goodrum?
Well, she's just going into, how she started off in Neighbours, and another one of these lovely young girls. She also, I think, is pretty special.
Yeah.
And she's just gone into House Husbands. And so she's gone back into her acting ability. And they're doing, Phil, Olivia Newton-John's life story, whatever you call it, mini-series, and they want Delta to do it, and Olivia doesn't want her to, so I'm not too sure what will happen there, because
I would have thought Delta would be kind of good in that role.
she'd be great.
Did you see her in Cats recently? I believe she was outstanding.
Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
But the only thing I think with those mini-series, most people don't want them. Bert doesn't want his. I'm sure Peter Brock wouldn't have wanted his.
And I've knocked back mine several times already.
I know. And, I think they're doing one on Alan Bond, which is rather hysterical, because they wanted Matthew to play Alan Bond at one stage.
Okay.
And I don't want them to do Bert's, because I'll be very upset who plays me.
Well, let's see.
She's going to have to be gorgeous for a
Well,
start.
I might ask Delta, even though she's like 6'2" and I'm 5'2".
Who could play Patti? Maybe Jeannie Pratt.
No, Margot Robbie is the suggestion.
Oh, Absolutely.
Oh, you'll get on.
I'm not having it done unless Margot does it.
We're almost out of time. What's happening apart from curtains this week?
What about, what's his name? You know, the guy from 60 Minutes, Michael Usher, going to Channel 7. That's a big move.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he's going there to do a news show, and he'll do the weekend news and do his big current affair type show.
That's a good move for him, isn't it?
I think it is, yes. I think he's pretty good. But I think they'll miss him on 60 Minutes.
They sure will.
Because he's very
babe.
special.
Well, it's time we say good night to you.
Did you actually call Patti Babe?
Babe?
Of course, yes.
And chum. No, champ.
And often I say, good night, doll.
Good
See you
night.
next Monday.
See you, boys.
Bye, Patti. Andrew McLaren filling in for Ian Reid, filling in for Simon Owens tonight. I'm sorry, I've just got Ian's name in front of me. And going to for Ian Reid, crossing to the Weather Bureau, the Bureau of Meteorology, Dean Stewart, a very good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Andrew and Phil.
Hi, Dean.
What have you got for us? How was the day?
Yeah, it was a very, very pleasant day indeed. Sunny right through the day. We made it up to 18.1 just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, but very pleasant conditions after an early morning low of 10 degrees.
Yes, now coming up for tomorrow, same sort of day?
Same temperatures, 10 to 18, but the main difference will be the wind, a much fresher northerly wind blowing tomorrow, so that'll make it perhaps not quite as pleasant, but still plenty of sunshine. I think we'll start to see some high cloud come in very late in the afternoon, but mostly sunny skies and remaining dry right through the day. That high cloud is coming in ahead of a cold front, which will move through overnight, in fact, the early hours Wednesday morning. So dry up to midnight tomorrow night, but some showers developing in the early hours of Wednesday morning. A bit cooler on the Wednesday. In the wake of that front, the winds will turn around to a southerly, so a temperature range 11 up to 16 degrees. I think by the afternoon the showers should be on their way out, so mainly in the morning, Wednesday morning, we'll have a few showers passing through. Then on Thursday, back to fine conditions with the northerly winds redeveloping, mostly sunny skies up to 19. In fact, some suburbs could even be nudging 20 degrees on Thursday, so a real taste of spring this week. It does cool down on Friday. In the wake, a front will move through in the early hours of Friday, so quite showery on Friday, a top of just 16 degrees. And then that will lead into a fairly cool and showery weekend as well, 14 on Saturday and a top of 15 on Sunday with further showers about.
Well, not too bad a forecast, really, for this time of the year. I mean, it is officially still winter. As you say, Dean, there's been such a touch of spring, though, about today and what appears to be coming up for a couple of days at least, anyway. Yes,
I think tomorrow and then Thursday, particularly Thursday, as I said, I think we'll even nudge 20 degrees in the city here on Thursday. So, yeah, that'll be very pleasant indeed.
Okay, Dean, I know you're doing shift work. If you're awake by 1 p.m, I'll be at B. Jan's Bakery tomorrow. I'll shout you a cappuccino.
What's wrong with Porchetta tomorrow, Phil?
La Porchetta? No, I'll be next door tomorrow.
All right.
La Porchetta's for evening big Italian, feed-ups, but BJ's just for a light lunch, okay?
Sounds like you like to spread your money around the neighbourhood.
Oh, I really do, Dean. We'll be looking out for you. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Robin Yolden sends me an email. She says, "Hi, Andrew, you are missed. Big love."
Oh,
there you are. You've got fans out there.
Oh, thank you, Robin. Yes, I know, and thank you so much. Nice to hear, well, not your voice, but hear your name there.
And if you've just tuned in, Simon's indisposed again, raspy throat, but she'll be back on deck tomorrow night. Take care of yourself, Simon. I know he wakes up especially for the passing parade.
This is John Doremus with the Passing Parade and the story of a murder that had all the elements of a Shakespearean tragedy. Her beauty ravaged by the rack, thumbscrew and fire of the torture chamber. The young woman kissed the crucifix extended to her by a monk and painfully mounted the scaffold. Her name was Beatrice Sensi. She was just 22 years of age, a victim of birth, brutality, and her own incredible beauty. I'll be back with the story after this message. Beatrice Sensi was born in Rome on the 6th of February, 1577. Her father, Francesco, was the son of Count Cristofero Sensi, who had left him an enormous fortune. Life might have been pleasant for Beatrice and the other Sensi children, but for the treatment they received at their father's hands. A sadistic fiend, he took delight in humiliating and inflicting pain upon them, to such an extent that Beatrice's older sister, Antonia, appealed for protection to the Pope, who freed her of Francesco's tyranny by giving her in marriage to one Carlo Gabriele. The settlement cost Francesco 20,000 crowns. Enraged, he vented his ire on the lovely Beatrice. So brutal was he toward her that she lived in constant fear of her life, and to a lesser degree did her mother. The crowning indignity came when, following a bout of heavy drinking, he beat her insensible and attempted to rape her. She was spared only by the intervention of her brothers. Finally, it was decided within the family that Papa could be done without. And after conferring with Beatrice and his mother, Brother Giacomo engaged the services of two gentlemen of dubious repute named Marzio and Calvetti. On the night of September 10, 1598, opium was mixed in Francesco's food and he fell into a deep sleep. The two assassins entered his bedchamber. Marzio placed the point of a large nail on the right eye of the sleeping man, and with a single blow, Calvetti drove it into his brain. The nail was then removed. Beatrice and her mother wrapped the body in a sheet and dragged it to the edge of a high terrace, pushing it over so that it fell on an elder tree. Their plan was to create the impression that Francesco had stumbled and fallen from the terrace, piercing his eye on one of the short, stunted branches. Well, it might have come off, if Beatrice hadn't made the mistake of giving the blood-stained sheet to a local washerwoman to clean. This led to talk, which led in turn to the exhumation of Francesco's body and to the ultimate arrest of the Sensis. Put to the rack, Giacomo succumbed at the first turn and confessed all, while his mother was unable to withstand the fire torture. Beatrice alone remained silent, though she was racked till her limbs were almost drawn from their sockets. At length, on learning that her mother and brothers had talked, she reluctantly admitted her part in the slaying. The Sensi stood trial and were sentenced to death. Knowing of Francesco's brutality, many prominent citizens petitioned the Pope for mercy. Even as the petition was being considered, however, a woman named Croce was stabbed to death by her son for refusing to make him heir to all her property. Fearing a wave of parricide, the Pope was prompted to reject the petition. He ordered that the Sensis be executed without delay, except for Bernardo, the youngest, whose sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. The condemned, in deference to their noble birth, were driven to the scaffold in coaches escorted by priests and friars chanting psalms and carrying torches. Beatrice was the first to die. She did so bravely, unrepentant, declaring to the end that she had acted in accordance with her conscience. Since her death on the morning of September 11, 1599, much has been written about her in novels and verse. The poet Shelley based his powerful lyrical drama The Sensi on her martyrdom, and her portrait, painted by Guido Reni, has for centuries been hailed as a masterpiece. Our time is up until we meet again for another chapter in the Passing Parade. This is John Doremus. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.
Yes, John returns tomorrow at the same time. 11 Nightline on 3AW, and after this break, I, mere fill-in for Simon tonight, I know. But I want to ask if anyone has the same opinion as me about what is happening in the swimming at Rio. Yes, aspects of this competition seem quite bizarre to me. I'd love to get your opinion. I'm going to talk a bit more about it right after these. We'll read.
I was talking to Ian Reid this very day, and he sent his regards to you, and he and Naomi, his lovely wife, would like us all to have a meal with them sometime.
Really?
Would you be in that?
Oh, yeah, I'll be in there. I'd love to. Yes.
You haven't had lunch with me for a while.
No, it would be last year now, wouldn't it?
Yes, it was tradition. We got together every 3 months or so.
Yes, my fault a bit. I haven't sort of responded to your last invitation.
Now, you've got something on your mind about the Olympics.
It's been on my mind for about the last 3 or 4 days. I'm glad I have this platform, this soapbox, to expound on it. The swimming times, the difference between winning and losing in many swimming races in Rio is ludicrously, no, I haven't been drinking, it is just the end of a long day for me, that's all, is ludicrously tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you can be what, 0.04 of a second behind the winner.
Of course.
And you've come actually fourth in the race.
I know.
With this electronic timing and all the new technology.
Yeah.
I think it is just crazy. Are there other people like me? To say you've lost the race because you are, one hundredth of a second slower than the winner.
Maybe your fingers weren't quite long enough, or your fingernails.
Well, whatever. I mean, and if we go back, say, 60 years to the Melbourne Olympics, I'm not sure how the Melbourne Olympic swimming trials or swimming races were timed and judged, but I don't think they would have had so fancy equipment as they have today.
No.
So how is it possible? How do they judge winners and losers and seconds and thirds at that time?
Well, with the photo finish cameras too, you know.
Oh, I suppose so, but the difference in time is just ridiculous. I find it, swimming to me, and I would be interested to hear this, has become a bit of a joke because of it.
Yeah.
Because I think it was not here, but I think it was in London in 2012. There was one swimming race where the difference between the man who won to the person who came fifth in that race was half a second. So the second and third all came between the winner and the half second through the man who came fifth.
So there'll never be a photo finish, obviously.
Well, no. I mean, well, you wouldn't be able to tell with a photo, would you? But apparently it's this electronic touchpad that makes the difference. And it does record these fine distinctions.
Now, how good's your memory? Do you remember whether the swimming was held at the Melbourne Olympics in *56?
Well, I wasn't at it, but I was at the athletics. I never saw the swimming.
Do you know where they were held?
The swimming, it was held at that pool they built specially for it in...
called the Glass House.
The Glass House, that's right.
Near the
down by the
Botanic
Yarra.
Gardens.
That's
Absolutely
it, that's right.
All right, and my topic was, from an hour ago, because poor Simon's off again tonight with a touch of the flu and he's a bit hoarse. And my topic is, have you been in the workforce and never taken a sickie in your life? If you can honestly say that, John Deeks would be a good example of that. He's, very industrious, and he would, if he had the mumps, even if he was wheeled in by a wheelbarrow, he would still turn up for work. I know that's the sort of work ethic that man has.
That's right. I always wanted to come to work by wheelbarrow. It's been a dream of mine since I was a child. Phil, hang on, just a minute. I put it to you, Mr. Brady. Have you ever taken a sickie?
Oh, remember I broke my hip 2 years ago. I was off here for about 4 weeks.
A sickie to me implies, a faux illness. I mean, have you ever...
No, I love my work so much I've never faked it. No, never. No. If I want a night off to see Roy Orbison or something, I'll take annual leave for a night. But no, I wouldn't just not turn up. Wouldn't be my style.
Oh, that's good to hear. No, I have, as I confessed a little earlier, I have.
And there'd be people I've met in their 80s who've said, I've never been in hospital in my life. Aren't they blessed? Aren't they lucky? No, I've never had a day's illness in my life. Love to hear from you and maybe inspire us.
Yes, I know. I remember a guy, well, he would have passed on now, but he was an uncle of a friend of mine, and I couldn't believe it. He looked about 60, and he told me he was 85, and it turned out he was 85, and he had never been ill beyond a cold, I think, and I'm sure he was telling the truth in his life. He had a couple of colds over his 85 years. Incredible life.
Well, look at my aunt who died 2 years ago at 110. She'd never had a day's illness in her life.
Really?
At 110.
Is she ever married?
No, that's why she lived to be such a grand age.
And had also never done a day's work.
Oh, yes, she was like a little nun. Ken, what's the phone number, please, for our two topics?
Yes, call them both, 96900 6. What are you getting the panel operator to do the phone
Just
for?
to involve you.
You've got a professional there.
No, I'm involving
If you want to involve me, I can tell you about the fella I worked with. Had not had a day off in 40 years, but had not been one of these types that goes to work crook as a dog, spreading germs and vermin through the air conditioning system. No, he wasn't like that. He had just never, ever been sick and never needed to take a day off work. Now, I do know others that have said, I've never taken a day off, but they've gone into work, they've dragged themselves in the door, they're as crook as anything, they're coughing and sneezing and they're spreading it right through the entire department.
Yeah.
I could kill those people.
Well, Simon last night, he was spreading his germs around. He should have really been wearing a surgical mask like they wear in Tokyo in the subway
They do
train.
too, don't they? Yes.
At least he could have paid me that respect.
He should have, perhaps. And you know,
He might have sounded a bit muffled if he'd done that.
if there's any others who are perplexed by what swimming has come to in the Olympic races, I keep on saying
so
the
you're
trials.
still trying to get the swimming topic up.
Oh,
I think it's time you just went back to panel operating theatre, Ken. What you're employed for, baby?
oh, my head's spinning with two topics going at once.
I know, it's all... this is Nightline in stereo. It's the latest technology we've got here at Nightline.
We're doing separate shows. Gigi might have an answer. Hello, Gigi.
Hello, Philip, and hello, Andrew.
Hello,
good
Gigi.
to hear you again.
Thank you. Same, ditto.
Yes, I couldn't ring in the other week when you were on because I was keeping an eye on the video recording. The streaming recording wasn't working the other day, and I wanted to make sure I got everything.
Yes.
Yes, and I wanted to. I went to my honorary family's dinner last night, which I haven't been to for a little while. Visits in her time away, and she's had an absolutely marvellous time. So I hope to see her next month or the month
Right. Yeah,
after.
those islands are made of bulrushes and reeds.
Yes. Well, the thing is, she also went to see the Iguazu Falls.
Oh, Iguazu, yes.
Yes, and she,
magnificent.
And yes, and she took photos from both sides, from the Argentinian side,
yes.
and also the Brazilian
Uruguay,
side.
I think, on the other side.
Yes, she took brilliant photos. She's a very good photographer. So she had a great time, though. The other friends that went over to meet my girlfriend's daughter, they came back and one of their pieces of luggage is still in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so often the way, sadly. Isn't it?
Gigi, you sound a bit raspy tonight.
Yes, I think I wanted to suggest to Simon, which I will do tonight, to put Vicks Vapor Rub on the soles of your feet.
Oh.
He mentioned this a few years ago, and he said that it actually worked. And put socks on and go into a nice warm bed.
Do you remember blue bags? We used to use them in the copper, you know, when we do our washing.
Yes, my
in the
mum
days
did,
before washing machines, Andrew's too young to know, but these little blue bags would go in with the washing. Bruce used to tell us that when he had a fever, that his mother would pin one to his singlet.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what good it did, but that was a remedy for Bruce.
I see.
A blue bag on a safety pin stuck to your vest.
Or maybe he had some Warren's Wonderwool. Do you remember that? It was a product you wore. It was something. It was like a singlet that you wore when you had a cold under your shirt.
Really?
And it was. I don't know what was wonderful about it, but I remember it was advertised on radio, and people used to have a Warren's Wonderwool jerkin.
We should take some old remedies that Grandma used to suggest.
Exactly.
That'd be good. 96900 693. Take care, Gigi.
Thank you. And it's nice to hear you, Andrew. And there's a vacancy on Australia Overnight coming up.
Oh, yes. Well, moving on, Gigi. I've served my time. Don't send me back, please.
Okay.
No, thank you. 28 past 11. It is Nightline, and Jeff's on a mobile. Hello, Jeff.
Oh, g'day there, Andrew, and hi, Phil.
Yes, Jeff.
Look, I'll talk on both your subjects, or both your topics. I guess firstly, Andrew's with the swimming. Yeah, there's not a lot you can say about it, Andrew. Really, you've said it all. It is such a finite thing, though, and yeah.
Don't you find it just ridiculous now? I mean, how can you say you've lost a race when you're 0.03 behind the winner?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on.
No, and they actually had some, I think, yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, where there was actually a dead heat for second. And
Oh, there was. Oh.
Yeah, they had all of them up on the dais. They had to.
it's just incredible. But yeah, sorry, Andrew, this is as much as I can talk on your
No, fair. Thank you for agreeing with me. I appreciate a little support here, Jeff.
And now, Jeff, have you ever taken a sickie?
Yeah, look, not a sickie in the sense of, like we talk about, you know, like I just want a day off, but certainly I have had the old time where I've needed to be off. And you know what, I think it's important, and I think Simon's living proof of this. If you drag yourself in, sometimes you just don't get well enough, and
That's right.
better having that time off in the first place. But on the other side of that coin, guys, I've seen many, many times the person who believes it's their right to have a sickie once a month or something,
Yes.
and inevitably they end up with something terribly wrong, and they have no sick leave left. So I'm a firm believer in you use it when you need to, and you keep it as an insurance for the time.
Look, you're so right. When I was at Radio 97 on the Gold Coast, there was a newsreader there who took every day of sick leave that he was entitled to. And when we knew he had 1 day left in the financial year, we knew he wouldn't be in that day, that he would take that day. And I think that's quite immoral to use the company up that way.
Absolutely, and as I said, sometimes karma comes back to bite you, I think, because you end up with, you break an ankle or something like that.
Okay, now, our third topic was Grandma's cures. Do you have one for us?
Oh, look, you know what? I do. The old poultice. Now, I don't know whether you remember this. We used to get you'd get the velvet soap and the sugar, and as a kid, if you had a splinter or something, they'd just put that on, and the splinter would be sitting in the soap in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. They were quite effective, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I've told my kids about them, and I've actually used them with mine. They look at you like you've come from another planet sometimes when you mention these things, but they work. So,
are they like a sort of heat bag that you'd put in the microwave, like a wheat bag?
No,
not really.
You get some velvet soap, the old block of yellow velvet, and you sort of just soften that up, and then you put sugar with it, and then you just sort of put it on with a bandage or something, so that there's a block of this on.
But put it where?
Oh, you put it on top of the splinter or whatever it is, and it's got a drawing power. It's a bit like magnoplasm, that was another one that we used to have. So,
yes, Mum used to tell me, and I used to be horrified, but her generation, remembering my mother was born in 1913, or whatever it was, but as a kid with an infected ear, the doctor would put a leech into the ear, and it would suck the infection out.
They still use them, Andrew, I believe, in medicine.
And they do too.
By the way, I have to tell you, Andrew's had a lot of splinters in his time, because he's always sucking up to the boss.
Yeah, I've heard him. Don't worry. Special Friday lunch.
Hey, Jeff, you're a tonic. Have a $50 Pancake Parlour voucher. Pancake Parlour open 24 hours a day at High Point, Doncaster, Malvern East. It'll be a lovely experience, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. That's lovely. Thanks, Bill.
Okay,
thanks,
mate.
Andrew.
Okay, and here's Andrew McLaren with a time call and a station break.
It's 3AW, and it's 29 to 12. At 25 to 12, Diana's at Carrum Downs. Hello, Diana.
Hello, my boys. How are you all?
Terrific.
Thanks. Good speedy recovery to Simon, of course, laying in bed, blowing his nose and coughing. Now, I was rung because I am very guilty. I took a sick day, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I went to the races.
I bet you did you get found out?
Well, I got found out because the rep came into the shop the next day and said, "Hi, Diana. It was great at the races yesterday, wasn't it?" And unfortunately, I went to the newsagents over the road to where we lived, right? And so I was sick, and I can still hear my boss going, "No, my little girl would have been sick. She wouldn't have been at the races." And I said, "No, I definitely wasn't." I said, "You must have seen a clone of me." Oh, my God. Do you know, I never did it again.
No, you felt so guilty.
I felt sick. I told Mum, do you know what Mum said? "Serves you right, dear."
Yes. Yeah. But was there any good news at the races? Did you win?
Won, but you know what? I didn't feel like I won the next day.
No, I imagine not. Well, a bit of a life lesson for you, wasn't it, Diana?
Oh, yeah, I'll never do that again. I'm 64 now, and at that time it would have been 19.
Yeah, and you've been on the straight and narrow ever since that day, eh?
Of course.
Yeah, well, thank you for going to confession to Father Andrew and Father Philip.
Yes,
and we are going to not give you a penance, but we plan to reward you, Diana. I'd love to give you a new phone because the line was a bit faulty, but I can't give you that. I'm going to give you instead something wonderful from Paperworld, an original newspaper from the day of your birth from Paperworld's 100-year archive. Turning the past into the present, perfect for Father's Day. Order online at nowpaperworld.com.au. That's a little gift for you.
Thank you, Phil. I'm using up my credit. That's why it's wonky.
Ah, well, hopefully next time you've got plenty of credit. Anyway, you've got plenty to read with Paperworld coming your way on the day you were born. So hold the line, won't you, Diana? Thank you for that. And, I looked, Phil, at at a paper of the news of a newspaper of the day I was born. That's what I'm trying to say. It was a bit disappointing, I've got to say, because I was born when there was a paper shortage. The newspapers.
It was very thin, was it?
Only 6 pages.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was just, well, I won't say the wall was just a little after the wall.
Yes.
And still there were all sorts of restrictions on how big papers could be. And I thought, oh, this will be great. I read it in 3 minutes from back to front.
And just talking about the Boer War. Oh, that's cruel, isn't it? Hey, Laurie's in Bayswater. Hi, Laurie.
Hello. I just want to ring up about Olympic Games and also about sickness.
Yes.
I went to Olympic Games in Melbourne in 1956. I think I've been to 7 Olympic Games already. I think the Olympic Games, even though it's the actual time has got better, there's still 3 dead heats in this Games.
Yes.
Still have a dead heat.
Were there dead heats in the swimming in 56?
No, I'm talking about now, this year.
Oh, I see.
There were 2 races where there were three people got the same tufts at the same time, so they had to have a dead heat. There was a second place, I think it was, in one of the races.
That's right, silver, yes.
So you can still do that. As far as Olympic Games in Melbourne is concerned, of course, the swimming pool is where the Commonwealth football ground is now, Olympic Park. They occupied that building where the swimming pool was.
That's right, yes. It has changed. But I was really querying just how ridiculously fine the difference between winning a swimming race and coming 4th or 5th in it has become.
You can't have constant dead heats. If you didn't have the tough system, there'd be dead heats all the time.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, just, you know, it makes a bit of a fuss of swimming to me when someone who wins is 0.003 ahead of the person who's come third.
Very close, but I think that's all you can do, because that's swimmers and athletes get better, they're going to get the same time all the time.
Yes, probably right.
Can't do much about it. As far as the sickness is concerned, I have only been in the hospital once in my life. That I know of. I may have been in hospital when I was born, I don't know, but one other time I was. I'm on 79 now, so
Yes.
so it is possible to be sick, not to be sick enough to go to hospital.
Yes, you've been very blessed. Hey, Laurie, I mean, during your call, Andrew and I would like you to have from Shock Entertainment the complete series of The Munsters. You are going to love this. It's a 12 DVD set. It's going to go for hours and hours and hours. It includes all 70 episodes plus 2 feature-length movies of The Munsters. Enjoy it, Laurie.
Okay, thanks very much.
And Ken will post that out to you if you hang on, please.
Margaret at Footscray. Hello, Margaret.
Well, good evening. How are you?
Oh, terrific. Hope you are too.
I was just ringing up about, the remedy for flu. I've never had time to get sick, you see. So anyway, I take about 20 cloves, chop up a whole lemon and a litre of water, boil the whole thing for about 20 minutes, right, until it's sort of ready. Then you sweeten it with a big spoonful of honey, Honey actually is an antiseptic, and it sort of kills the germs in the throat, And chicken soup, like they always say, is very good, isn't it?
That's a wonderful Jewish remedy, isn't it? The chicken soup.
Yeah, but I'll put a big bunch of parsley in it, because I think that's very rich in iron or zinc or whatever.
I'm sure it's all very healthy, yes.
Yeah, that keeps you fit. And nowadays, I think that spray, that eucalyptus spray? I reckon, they reckon it kills about 99% of the germs.
Right.
That should keep the germs away from you.
Yeah, that's right, and keep the koalas close.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Margaret.
Haven't you got a good night tonight?
We're having the best time of our lives. But we miss Simon, and hopefully he's back tomorrow night. Andy, if we don't see you again this week, we'll look forward to Friday lunch, of course, with Dennis and Darren. Always great fun.
Yes, it is, those filthy swine.
And here's one of your fans to say hello to you.
Right. Stephanie at Manningham. Hello, fan number 5,333.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, hello, Star. We're both lucky, yes.
On your topic about being sick, I'm a mum, and I cannot recall being sick with having my children. I'm the first one to get up in the morning, last one to go to bed at night. cook and clean, and when they're sick, I look after them. If I feel like I'm a little bit sick, I don't even let them know, but I'm always there for them, and I never, ever have I ever taken a sickie.
Well, for that, Stephanie, if nothing else, you deserve a couple of fabulous DVD collections here. Law and Order, the 11th year, the complete year season. This is from Shock Entertainment. And also, Let's Go Ghostbusters Volume 2, which your kids or grandkids will absolutely love. So hold the line, and we'll get your details from you, and we'll make sure you get those, okay?
Right.
Good on you, Stephanie. Thanks for that.
Anything else you wanted to tell us, Stephanie?
No, not really. My husband's been out working all day, and he's never taken a sickie either. He's he does about 2 or 3 jobs, and
Good man.
Very, very good person, very good man, and very loving husband, and always wants to look after his family.
You made the right choice, didn't you, Stephanie?
I certainly did.
And we're talking about Grandma's cues. Can you remember any of them from your childhood?
Look, garlic and chili. My mum always used that for anything. And you know, we love the chili and the garlic, of course, but also garlic chili chopped up really fine with Manuka honey, and then you just swallow it.
Yeah, sounds pretty good advice. Or if a little on the aroma side, you know, a little strong, wouldn't it be, with all that garlic? No, but lovely. Thank you for that, Stephanie. It's lovely to hear from you. Just hold the line now. 14 to 12. I've got to tell you something, Phil.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something quickly? That in the 15th, 14th century, when the plague, bubonic plague, the dreadful scourge of those centuries...
The Black Death.
The Black Death was raging through Europe and much of the world.
Yeah.
From the infected fleas on rats. And you could be bitten by the flea at, say, 11 o'clock in the morning. By 3 a.m. the next morning, you were dead in many cases. There were people who survived, who were bitten and survived. Now, science now is trying to find the bodies of those people, or the bones, I should say, of those people, to see if they can study them and find out why they survived.
Yes.
Just why didn't they get the plague?
They were immune to those bites.
Well, it seems so. And why? And they've actually had expeditions is hardly the word, but they've actually gone on these sort of search missions to find where the people who survived...
To check their DNA.
Yeah. These were the people who, you know, had the carts that went around the streets of London or Paris around calling out, bring out your dead.
Yeah.
Because that's how bad it was. There were dead people in virtually every house and every street at the end of each day. So I'd just be interested to find out why. And it would be wonderful, because this would be, you know, a great breakthrough, in a sense, for science, for other diseases that afflict us. And yet, inexplicably, I had a mother that smoked incessantly from the age of 15 till she was 87, and had not, as the doctor told me at the end of her life, that there was not a hint of cancer in her body.
Look at Hilda, my next-door neighbour. She is my age. She broke her hip, but she still gets through 50 a day. I mean, you know.
And she survived working for Reg Grundy.
And she promised father on his deathbed that she was going to quit, but she didn't say when. She just said she'd give up. Now, you're talking about the Black Plague. You still occasionally read in the paper somebody who succumbs to that to this very day, the Black Death of Plague.
It is still around, I believe,
yes,
in very hopefully in very small, isolated areas.
And do you know, this is very depressing at the end of the night. At the end of World War I, in 1919, 20 million people died of the Spanish flu. That's almost the population of Australia today.
You're right, that's right. It actually, I think, claimed more lives than the First World War.
Yeah, it possibly did, yes.
Yeah, I know. It's another fact that just springs to mind madly while we're flinging facts around.
Didn't Herb Albert have a big hit with Spanish flu?
No, it was Spanish flea, but that wasn't the infected one off the rat. It was another one. It wasn't. It didn't give you bubonic plague to hear the record.
Hey, a bubonic plague, I think, not bionic.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little mixed up. Steve, what was his name again? Came in. Help me. Who was the bionic
$6 million man?
Steve McQueen or something. Who was he?
Steve Majors.
Steve Majors.
No, Lee Majors. Lee Majors was the actor who played.
Oh, okay. Well,
the
it's getting very late for
man.
it's getting late for all of us.
Time for one more call.
I've got a touch of
time for another Andrew McLaren fan to ring in on 96900 693. You might even win a prize. Last chance to give us a call before Deeksy comes in to tell us about tomorrow's show. What's on for the rest of your week? I know you have a commitment in the other studio at midnight playing music all night.
That's right. I'm very busy with that. That'll take me through until 6 tomorrow morning. And later, only one other thing. Joanne and I are planning a trip to, and I have not been for 40 years.
Yes.
I worked worked it out the other day, over 40 years, Mount Macedon.
Oh, this will be like another honeymoon.
Well, I guess it might be.
Which is, in fact, where my parents honeymooned in 1929.
Is it really?
And I'll tell you who lives up that way. David Mann. He'll take care of you.
Well, don't.
He's up near the cross. Oh, Prue's here. Hello, Prue.
Hello. I have a cure for you.
Yes, Prue.
My father was an ear, nose and throat surgeon, and whenever you get a cough or a sore throat, you put a couple of drops of Dettol into a glass of water and you gargle.
Gargle Dettol?
Diluted in a glass of water.
I see.
And you'll never get sick.
You'll never get sick?
No.
Gee, Dettol.
You mustn't swallow it, though.
Well, obviously not, but it'd be hard not to get a little down your throat, and you would wonder about just how efficacious that might be.
No, but you only put a couple of drops into a glass of water.
I'm too punsy for that.
And you gargle it.
Because it might go down my throat all the way, and I'd get this burn. Oh no, I don't know about that.
Gargle.
I'll try, Prue.
Okay, hey, Prue, that's very good. Is she talking about the gargoyles of Notre Dame? Gargoyles? Prue, we're out of time, but we'd like you to have from Shock Entertainment, The Three Stooges. We're going to send you a couple of DVDs of Larry, Curly and Moe from the 1930s. They're great fun. I hope you enjoy them, Prue. And
thank you. And remember to gargle.
Yeah, or gargoyle, yeah.
Airbags, and he was in disbelief when told that Homeowners Association restrictions and restricted exterior furniture to only that which enhanced property values. It was the aftermath of the 2000 presidential election that caused Common Sense to breathe his last breath. Common Sense was preceded in death by his parents, Trust and Trust, his wife, Discretion, his daughter, Responsibility, and his son, Reason. Not many attended the funeral of Common Sense because so few realized that he had gone.
Copyright restricts distribution of this piece by any means of duplication.
Well, Andy, didn't expect to have you back in again tonight, but as always, been great fun. I'm sure everyone enjoyed hearing your voice.
Thanks, Phil, and regards to you, Simon.
And another one of my certain favourites, he's my hero, is John Deeks. G'day, mate.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, Phil. It's nice to be here, and I've only got a few days left, but it's great fun. So if I was born 1 minute, 3 seconds and 45 after you, would you be happy to say I'm older?
Yes, I would be. A lot older than me.
Okay.
In Olympic timing, you'd be an old man.
Yeah, I'm talking about where you come from. How far back can you trace the Brady clan?
Not too far, because my grandmother on my father's side was adopted, so they put a stop to that.
Mr. McLaren?
Oh, back to the 1820s.
Really? Convicts?
No, in Tasmania, but not convicts. No.
Oh, free settlers.
Free settlers, yes, in Hobart.
We think Matthew Brady, the Tasmanian bushranger, was related to me. It runs in the family. So he was Captain Moonlight or whoever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we believe so.
I've had one day off from Channel 7 in 40 years.
Oh, that's a very good effort.
Yep, very happy with that.
And what was the illness? Can we ask? Was it something personal? Or
I had gallstones. Kidney stones.
Oh, painful. Were they zapped?
Oh, they were pain in the yes.
And you had them zapped?
I did.
Did you need keyhole surgery?
No. It was a long time ago. They actually opened a big door.
Thank goodness you survived to do midnight to dawn.
3AW 693 News.